Hello, all my YouTube friends. The other day I had shown you these 3 cards, which I had done with embossing paste, gold embossing paste, and using this Dreamweaver stencil, which is a dragon. And I started thinking about, not everybody has those products that I was using, so I wanted to show you some alternative options to this. Down here on my desk are a few, and I will kind of walk you through what these things are. This one this is real thin paper, and I'd run it through with the stencil in my embossing machine. I happen to be using a Big Shot to give it a little bit of dimension and the raised look here. Then I came back with some of this 3D Stempel Barb, which is 3D stamp paint from Viva, and stippled that on. Now, this works. It's beautiful. It's got almost like a glitter effect to it. However, this stuff really sets up like iron on your stencil, so you need to immediately clean your stencil or drop it in a pan of water, or, whatever, if you're going to use that directly on your metal stencil. Just a fair warning, okay? This one I had done using some alternate sprays. I was using the Color Blooms, which are these in the background. And then I had come back in with some Pan Pastel chalks and done the colorization on this particular dragon. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Okay, this one I did by mixing some of the same paint in with a, well, that one I did with a gloss gel. And I had a little bit of difficulty because this is a little bit runnier consistency. If you look up in this area, you can see that there's a little bit of a fudge where it ran under the stencil. Not major, but you just need to be a little bit more careful with this stuff because it's runny. Then I mixed this translucent paste, which really is very shiny when it dries. It's clear. You can see there's a little bit on my pot here. And I mixed that with some of the paint, and it gave an entirely different effect. That one looks more, this one looks a little more iridescent and flat, and this one has a high gloss sheen to it. Can you see that high gloss sheen to it, and you lose the effect of the glitter. So just depending on what look you're going for. And then I used those Radiant Rain paints on the background of this one. So there are 4 other options. I'm going to show you a couple more. Here is a piece of paper. This is shimmer paper from, let's see, Appleton, which is Paper Cuts. This is Paper Cuts paper, and I've embossed it. And now I'm putting down a stencil over the top where the embossing is, and trying to line it up as best I can. I'm going to get some of my tape just so it doesn't slide around while I'm working on it. And just hit the edge. Yeah, I got it over the image, so I want to move it off of that. And this is any, you know, painter's tape or quick release type tape. There's artist tape that you can buy, medical tape from medical supplies. There's lots of, these are just low tack tape that are not going to stick permanently. And I'm just holding this down in place. This particular brand happens to be Frog Tape. You can buy this just about anywhere. It's a paint block tape. Okay, so I've got that tape down. Now, what I have is a fast drying pigment ink. Now, pigment ink typically stays wet longer, and I want to warn you that this is a paper that's not going to dry real fast either. So when I lift this, it's still going to be wet. But these little daubers, it's just like having a tool in your hand because they're just little teardrop things. And you can, if you see, you can get into little fine places like this with this dauber. And this is, what is this one? This one is called Crimson Copper, BR97, which is a real pretty coppery color. It's almost looking a reddish to me on this paper, but it might be the effect of the blue coming through. But we'll see once I lift it what we end up with. But I want to get into all of those little corners with my ink. He's got this shaggy mane thing here going on, so I need to get up there and get that. Get his snout. And I think I've got just about everything covered pretty well. I want to make sure before I lift my stencil because it gets more difficult to replace things. So then we're back to, you know, peeling off the mask. And our hinge lift. And there it is. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside to dry. Line this back up. Helps if things are spotlessly clean. I see I've still got a little bit of that ink down in there, but we're moving on. So if it transfers, it transfers. And I tried the gold metallics on stuff the other day, which looks like this. That was a combination of the copper and the gold. I think I want to go to a little bit darker something this time. So I've got some, what is this? I see that there's shimmer to it, which I like a lot. This one is called Pearl Medium Black Coarse. Okay. And of course, since we have a black coarse, we probably need a black fine to fill in between, right? Or we use a different color. So I'll pull both of those out and we'll see what we want to do here because I'm not sure yet what I want to do. I'm going to, I've got a sponge. I'm grabbing a couple pieces of paper towel because I need something to clean off with. And you can see this is how you clean your sponge. It's just by taking your paper towel and wiping the excess off. You see the colors I was using. I had a gold and a red. Real pretty colors, right? But that's not what we're working with today. So I'm just cleaning my sponge, getting that off of the surface. All right, so now I've got this coarse black. And I'm going to pick that up, and it just takes a couple of swipes. Can you see that on there? It's got a lot of shimmer. And I'm going to come in on top of my dragon with that coarse black. Oh, I hope this shimmer stays there. It's really pretty. This is a first time for me using these too, so, or at least this color. I've used pan pastels before, but I haven't used it on this type of paper, and I haven't used this coarse black before, so we'll see how that goes. Now, I've got that coarse black down. I'm going to come back and I'm going to grab some of this fine. And you can see it doesn't have quite as much shimmer, but I want to see what that does. Oh dear, it's caking. Can you see that? It's really caking. So I'm going to have to do a little cleanup on that. So the coarse didn't do that down in the stencil. The fine did. So, might be a good idea to use the coarse because you get the shimmer without the caking around those fine detail pieces. Now I want just a little bit of a bronze. So I'm going to pick up the bronze. I'm going to hit some of those areas, and it looks like I need a little bit more. All right, so I'm gonna lift this, and we'll see what we have here. And I probably need a nice dusting brush. Let's see, something soft. So I just grabbed a brush. I can lift this up. And yeah, you can see what it did is it clumped in some of those fine detail areas, and I don't want to get that on the rest of my page. I think that was the nature of the paper. You can see that it stuck where I didn't really want it to stick, so I'm going to grab an eraser. And this is the thing about working with some of these things. If something doesn't turn out quite the way you want it, don't just toss it. You can revive a lot of things just with something simple like an eraser. And you see how I can clean up. Let me show you. See over here where there's excess, I can come in very quickly with an eraser and remove that excess. And you don't want to touch the chalky area very much because you're going to need to seal it to get it to stay in place. I'm just doing this to show or share with you how you can clean that up. Okay, so you can see now that that's more of a cleaned up area. So then what I do is I take Spectra Fix, which is a pastel fixative, and because it's not going to harm anything, you can spray right on that piece and set it aside to dry. This is a Studio Pebeo Dyna, which is a blue-black iridescent. So I'm going to use some of that blue-black iridescent paint with this and just mix it right in. And this is a pretty, let's see, it's standing up. It's a pretty heavy body paint. So you want something that's going to stand up and give that embossed or raised look. And for that, I would recommend a heavy body, because anything else is going to water down your paste, and you don't really want a watered down paste. You want a nice thick paste here. Okay, I think that's pretty well mixed. You see the color has changed a little bit just because right now it's that white from what's in the jar. Oh, there's another one I did. All right, I'm going to use the... Here are the ones that I have done for you today. These are the ones that I did for you today. And then these are the ones that I did with the gold embossing paste the other day. And remember, I'll put the link in the video here. So those are a few more tips. You can see that you have a lot of different options using, just think about the things that you have in your stash. You know, do you have some, if you don't like shimmer, you don't have to use shimmer. If you want to use your color sprays for your backgrounds, those are great. Like this is that watercolor one that I just did. You know, you can come back in here and use color sprays. Now this is still wet, so that probably wasn't the wisest thing to do, but you can see that once that dries and I come back in with some color sprays, it's going to disguise some of that blur. And I really am liking the shimmer on the clear and the translucent emboss. So that'll be fun. So go play, go look in your stash, see what you have, and you know, send me a link, show me what you've made, because I'd really like to see what you've made. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and love to you all.